At this time, I would like to call the Board of Supervisors meeting for Wythe County for May the 28th, 2013 to order. I'd like to welcome everybody, and at this time, I'd like you to please stand as we have our invocation given to us by Miss Shelley Kyle of Bethlehem Baptist Church. Miss Kyle, thank you for coming.
Let us pray. Most heavenly kind Father, we come before you in the most precious and perfect and powerful name of Jesus. We thank you, Lord, for this beautiful day. We thank you, Lord, for this Board of Supervisors meeting and for each and every one that was able to be here. We thank you, Lord, for this great city of Wytheville and for all the surrounding areas. We ask that the Holy Spirit of God will lead, guide, and direct this meeting. We pray that your will be done. We ask your blessings upon the officers and each and every one represented. We pray that something will be said and done so that we may continue to grow and that you be glorified. May everything be done in decency and order, and to you receive all the glory, the honor, and the praise for all things, and that your will be done. In Jesus' name, amen and amen.
Please remain standing for the
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Again, let me welcome you to today's meeting. I have a list of people who have signed up who would like to speak. The first order of business is citizens' time. Now, I'll explain to you that this is for matters other than the airport. I see a lot of you have signed up for the airport, and you'll be given an opportunity to speak during the public hearing for the airport. So we're going to start off with people who did not sign up for the airport, and hopefully I'll catch all of you. Stanley King, King & King Enterprises. Stan, are you wanting to speak to the airport or another matter? Okay. Mr. Ron Cox, Pope Road. Mr. Cox, you want to speak to Pope Road?
Okay, Roy Cox, Pope Road. I've been over here several times to try to get our road finished, completed. It's blacktop on both ends, but we're in the middle of it. And we'd really like to get it finished because we are really suffering with a lot of dust and mud and everything else, potholes. But I picked up the Wytheville Enterprise paper the other day, kept reading it. These roads is on there, but not Pope Road. And I tell you, that was disappointing. But I asked each and every one of you to consider that, if you would possibly get over and finish that road, because we really, really need it. And I know money's tight and times are hard, but I've been over here quite a few times to try to get it done. And I'm sure that we can work with you and get it done. So I thank you, each and every one of you. If you do what I'm asking, I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is Dickie Pack. Dickie wanted to speak to the airport, but I think you also want to speak about Jonestown Road, Dickie?
Yeah, I do.
Please come forward.
Actually, okay. Dickie Pack, Cripple Creek, Virginia, Jonestown Road. I understand that they're in the process of repairing and some replacement on St. Peter's Road in Cripple Creek. And as some of you know, and a lot of them have left, I also have been here several times on getting a little more clearance where Jonestown Road turns off of St. Peter's Road. I need about 4 foot there, and that would fix it. We've had some promises before, and due to different things and changes in management, it never got done. But I'm here to ask you to go ahead and complete St. Peter's Road, and while you're right there, knock 4 foot off of the bank that goes down to Jonestown Road, and we do appreciate it. Any questions from anyone? Thank you.
Next, we have Gail Catron with Bland Foundation. Gail?
Airport.
Airport? Okay. Linda Myers has
Airport.
Airport? Allen Hawthorne's airport also.
If I might, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to also just very briefly speak to some new marketing efforts that we've been able to increase with support from the Appalachian Power Company. As some of you are fully aware, they recently certified the site in Progress Park as a certified data center site, and they've also put additional marketing material, and they're printing up lots of material for us. So particularly in response to Mr. Hale, we have plenty of these brochures available. There's a one-sheet write-up summary of the characteristics of the data center. And if anyone really wants to go to sleep, there's about 85-page report on the detail study. But if you want to pass these along and grab whichever you might want. Pardon?
I think we got copies in our packet. I like hard copies.
Like hard copy. Okay, very good. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else who'd like to speak to the board on any other matter other than the public hearing? All right, seeing none, I will close citizens' time and move to the public hearing. The Wythe County Board of Supervisors will conduct a public hearing pursuant to the Code of Virginia and amendments thereto to hear comments from Wythe County's withdrawal from the Smith-Wythe Regional Airport Commission. The board hearing will be held at 9:05 on Tuesday, May the 28th, in the boardroom of the County Administration Building at 340 South 6th Street, Wytheville, Virginia. And at this time, I will declare the public hearing open. Let me explain a few rules that we will have for the public hearing. When you come forward and speak, I will call your names as you have signed up, and I will also give opportunity for those who might have come in a little bit late after we picked this up to speak. Also, if you are speaking as an individual, you must identify that you are speaking as an individual, and you will be given 3 minutes, and we have a timekeeper. If you are speaking for a group, you will have 5 minutes, but you must identify the group that you are speaking for, and that group will only get one speaker. Anybody have any questions? Seeing none, I will open the public hearing, and I believe our first name is, and if I will apologize if I can't read all the writing earlier, so you'll help me, is Wilson Leonard. Mr. Leonard?
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
And good morning. I think I've been here before recently.
Yes, sir, you have.
I'm Wilson Leonard. I live in Chilhowie in Smith County. I am their representative to the Airport Commission. I'm currently serving as chairman of the Airport Commission, which is why I'm standing before you first this morning. I think the first thing I should do is a little review. We gave each of you a package, I think, like this. You should have got that had a whole lot of data in it, which I'm not going to go into because you've had the opportunity to go through it. Basically, I'm just going to cover where we are and where we have been with the Airport Commission. When I say we, I've only been with the Commission 2.5 years. I've actually only lived in Smith County 3 years, but before I was over in Grayson County. I've been in aviation, associated with aviation, for over 60 years of my life. So I'm intimately familiar with aviation, and to me it's like breathing. It just is, and it's part of my life, and I just consider it part of everybody's life. But I came to realize in the last couple of weeks that that's not true of the general public. And so this presented an opportunity for the Commission and many other people in the community associated with aviation, presented an opportunity for me to go back and talk to, like the IDA, the Chamber of Commerce, and bring people up to speed on the contributions that the airport does make to economic development and to the benefits of everyone in the 2 counties and this whole region of Virginia. For 55 years, the agreement was made in 1958. For 55 years, Smith County, Wythe County, Town of Wytheville, and Town of Marion have cooperated with each other, appointed commissioners, and operated an airport and upgraded it to the point that it is today. The thing that bothered me about the hearing today was I do not believe that the airport will shut down. There's been too much money invested, millions by the Virginia Department of Transportation and by the FAA, done for a reason, which is to help the economic development and growth of a particular region and area. These are scattered, as you saw the map in the state of Virginia in this brochure that was handed out. You'll see them scattered all over the state for purpose and reason, and that is to assist in that. In today's world, you do not get a large business or corporation, and even a mid-sized business and corporation, situated in your area if you do not have a nearby airport that they can fly into and out of in their supervisor and overseeing capacity. It's just a fact of life. They fly right over you and go to the next town if you don't have it. So we have a very nice facility now. It's up to date. And we get a lot of accolades I have recently on the airport as it stands. I have no doubt it's of a great benefit. We just haven't sold it that way. The thing that bothers me coming back to it is that if with a county were to withdraw its support, and the airport's not going to close down, you will continue to receive the benefit of the airport. And somehow that doesn't seem quite right to me. And up until this point, we've not had a problem with that. I think you got a list in there of the various businesses and organizations. And by the way, 70 to 80% of the people that come into the airport, they come to Wythe County and Wytheville. That's where the businesses are located. That's where those business jets, those people are headed. Just to name a few, you've got PepsiCo that comes in here. You've got Wythe County Hospital, Goodies, Food Line, Food Country, Flying J Truck Stop, Clocknor Pentapass, Natural Gas Pipeline, Enterprise Rent-A-Car, Appalachian Power, Cron Tractors, Crown Forklift, Aerial Solutions, they do power line clearing, Civil Air Patrol, State Police, Local Police, National Guard, and Wings, I think, who has some representatives here. And by the way, we have 4 of the commission members here, Mr. Frank Slavin, who is your commissioner, Mr. Don Elmore, I think, from the town of Wytheville, Mr. Scott Freeman from the town of Marion, who represents that town. They're here this morning also. I'm a talker, so 5 minutes restricts me greatly, so I'll try to step through this. There is one misconception I want to lay to rest. Hobby Airport. The airport exists just for those little airplanes that are up there in those hangars. And that all this money is spent just for those guys can fly on weekends or do what. Nothing could be further from the truth. The FAA and the Virginia Department of Transportation put not $1 into any airport in this state in support of those little private airplanes. They do not. Hangars, when they are built to house these aircraft, must be private money. And the hangar rent that the people who own those airplanes pay for those facilities. We cannot get a penny from the state or from the FAA to build hangars up there. It's impossible. They will not do it. What they spend money on, and millions have been spent at that airport, is on upgrading the runway, the taxiways, and the navigational systems, lighting system, and the approaches to and from the airport. A lot of safety stuff goes in there. The reason they do that, well, there are other people here that are going to want to speak to this, but I would just say at this point, I would think that the county of Wythe would, after seeing all this data and everything, certainly choose to continue to support as they have in the past. Thank you very much.
The next person that's signed up is Stanley King. Mr. King. Stanley, are you an individual or a group?
Individual.
Okay, thank you.
I'm Stanley King Jr., live in Rural Retreat. 9 years ago, at 5 o'clock in the morning, we got a phone call from Cleveland, Ohio, to have our grandson at Mountain Empire at 7 to go up there for a heart transplant. That was important for my family to have that availability of that airport and the usefulness of it. I think the airport should be funded. And if there's a shortage of funds, any of you want to talk to me, I can tell you how to save somewhere else to have the funds for that airport. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Steve. Next, Dickie Pack, this time to speak from the airport.
Okay, I'm speaking as a private citizen. And my name's Dickie Pack, and I'm from Cripple Creek. For 30 to 35 years now, I have ridden by the airport, and I thought, hey, it's just a little private airport, private individuals mainly, maybe a business flies in and out every now and again. But since this time, and I do want to appreciate the Board of Supervisors making a public hearing available to us so that we can actually find out what the airport does for us and our community and our county. I do believe that Mr. Leonard is a good representative of the airport. I believe that he will keep everyone informed of what's going on and not let people fall in the rut like I was of not knowing, having no idea what goes on at that airport. I do know that there's, as Stanley said, there's med flights in and out of there. I do know that there's firefighters in and out of there, and businesses. Wythe County is open for business, and that is one of our checkpoints that industries will look at when they look at this area, to see if we have access to airports, a airport, or more than one airport, and we're lucky that we do have access to more than one. But in saying that, as a private citizen, I just want to ask the board to continue to support the Airport Commission, and hopefully that you will, and I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Pack. Next is Mr. Brandon Elmore. For a group.
Mr. Chairman, I'll be speaking on behalf of Midtrans Corporation. Mr. Chairman, good morning, and gentlemen of the board. I come to you as I'm the base manager and one of the pilots at Wings Air Rescue 4 based in Marion, Virginia. And I'm coming to you to express how if the funding at Mountain Empire Airport becomes at a reduced capacity, or in fact if the airport were to in-state close, how it could affect not only our operation, but as well as the services that we provide to Wythe County itself. Our aircraft from Wythe County Community Hospital is exactly 21 nautical miles from where it is based right now. With that being said, it takes us about 9 minutes once our aircraft leaves the ground to be on the ground at Wythe County Community Hospital. Your next closest helicopter is about 30 nautical miles. And in our line of business, 4 minutes of flight time can mean a lot. With reduced funding, our helicopter relies on the airport for storage of the aircraft in hazardous weather, anything that might be threatening to the aircraft. The weather reporting facility at the airport is the only weather reporting facility in the area in between Virginia Highlands Airport and Appington, Virginia, all the way to New River Valley Airport in Dublin. In our geographical location, the weather can drastically change in a matter of 7 to 10 miles, and that weather reporting facility is critical for our operation. It gives us, it allows us much more information to carry out our mission. We receive approximately 15 to 20 flight requests monthly just from Wythe County Community Hospital in combination with Wythe County EMS services, to include Lead Mines Rescue Squad, Rural Retreat Rescue Squad, and Wythe County Rescue Squad. We also utilize the facility as pilot training, which is done quarterly for our corporation. We do have to have an airport, in order to conduct this training, and Mountain Empire is, from where we are based, is approximately 3 to 4 minutes of flight time. Also, Mountain Empire Airport provides us with fuel, and as well as emergency recovery facilities with the approaches that are available at that airport. And from my experience, sir, with and gentlemen, with my time at Wings Air Rescue, again, if Mountain Empire Airport's funding is reduced and we are then required to find either an alternate source for housing the aircraft, the Midtrans Corporation will no longer be able to assure that our location at Smith County will remain because we cannot have an aircraft without a storage facility. So I can't tell you exactly which direction we could possibly move. All that I know is our situation would be then in question. And with our situation being in question, our response times could be affected to this community. And as a citizen of this community, I take that to heart. And that is all that I have, gentlemen. Do you have any questions of me?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Our next speaker that's signed up is Ms. Gail Catron. Gail, are you speaking as an individual or for a group?
Actually, both. It's kind of hard to separate me from the foundation, from Wythe Bland Foundation. I won't take that long. Thank you for letting me speak. I urge you not to be short-sighted in reducing the funding for the airport. For the last 8 years, the foundation has awarded over $15 million to this community to make all of us healthier, and most of it has gone into education and healthy lifestyles such as greenways. Right now we're supporting a pre-engineering program for the students in the high school, exploring a STEM-H program, which is the science, technology, engineering, and math and health curriculum. It won't do any good for us to educate our kids if we don't have jobs and resources to attract those good jobs to the area. We need you to support this for opportunities for our quality of life, for health, and for the future growth of Wythe County. Thank you.
Next is Ms. Linda Myers.
Good morning, gentlemen. I was a little behind the 8 ball with this. I'm really glad that Mr. Leonard came with information, and I think we have a communication problem again within the county because I'm sure 95% of the people in the county don't have the information, and it's really, really critical that we have this information to be able to make comprehensive plans for things. And also the air rescue people, they're really a necessity in this mountainous area, and if we have tourism, in addition to the population that's here, we really, really need those facilities. Of course, this time of year, I travel with your budget, and just from a budget standpoint, if we did not rehire a PR person, that's half of the money, more than half of the money, for the airport that you should really consider. We have a great deal of money. If people go through the budget, that could be cut here and there, and it would be very, very easy to give the money and continue with the airport property. Thank you.
Mr. Alan Hawthorne, I assume speaking as a group for the IDA, Jay?
Yes, sir. I will be representing the joint IDA this morning. I want to talk on just one segment of the benefits of the airport. As has been alluded to, there's many different ones, but and certainly one that's important to you all is the economic development perspective. Some of the information you've been provided to shares the direct impact of the airport, but what I'm really going to speak to is more the infrastructure that it provides to the community for us to be competitive in the business climate and to seek to recruit new opportunities. I think you all are fully aware today that it's not so much recruitment as it is elimination by site selection consultants as they look at communities. And this is one of those pieces of infrastructure your community has to have to get on the list. Does having a general aviation airport guarantee you're going to be successful in the economic development arena? Absolutely not. No more than having fiber access guarantees that you're going to be successful. However, the flip side of it is quite true. If you don't have these basic infrastructure items available, it will ensure you will not get a look and will not be able to be competitive. So from that perspective alone, it's just one of those basic infrastructure items that a community has to have. However, from the joint IDA's perspective, like all of these other items, you need to ask the question, is it effective and is it being done efficiently? And that is the criteria I think you ought to use as you evaluate it. It's certainly a needed service. We need to have it available effectively and efficiently. And with that, I would also like to share, and I think it'll still fit in my time frame, representation of the Wythe Manufacturing Council as well. This is an informal group that we staff out of the joint IDA of our larger manufacturers. And we conducted a survey of that group to see what their perspective on the airport was. And we kept it very simple, hoping to get a good response, and we did. We got 13, and that's about half of the number that we would consider membership in the Wythe Manufacturing Council. Of those that responded, approximately 40% had used the airport. So it was a resource that many of our companies do use. And another 15% said they have plans to actually use the airport upcoming, so it is on their agenda. But I think the one item that really addresses to this being a needed item of infrastructure that you have to have is that of the 13 respondents who turned in the survey, 12 either agreed or strongly agreed that having access to the regional airport at Mountain Empire was an important resource for them. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Is there anyone who has arrived late that did not get an opportunity to speak? Yes, sir. Please come forward.
Good morning. My name's Tim Bass. I represent a group, Wythe County Community Hospital, Life Point Hospital. After listening, preparing for this presentation and listening to some of the guys that had some very important issues to tell, it kind of pared down what I had to say because economic development is very important. Wings is very important. You heard from a grandfather who probably has Thanksgiving and Christmas with a child that otherwise would not have had that had you not had this airport. So I'm gonna tell you there's a couple of things that are still important to me. Number one, individually, my vote and your voice as an individual, very important. But you as a group standing up and saying, I don't think it's a good idea that we support this. Now, the commissioner said it's going to be there anyway, and so that gives me a little bit of confidence that I'll still have a service. But here's my fear. My fear as a group is as important as the Board of Supervisors stands up and says that. We'll give thought to other groups to say, maybe that is money we can put away or save, and maybe that's something we can do without. So I'm asking you guys to reconsider this, and I want you to look at it not just as what's best for the Board of Supervisors and of course those of your constituents, but the bigger picture, because we're covering a number of counties here, and these are critically important. The second and last thing I will mention to you is this. Our hospital has a need, as you heard earlier from Mr. Elmore, that we transport patients from our hospital to tertiary care hospitals. We're not a tertiary care hospital, nor will we ever be a tertiary care hospital. We are a community hospital. We take care of your families when they come to us. And if something happens and we cannot take care of your family at that time, then time is a critically important element. And that's true about a number of different disease states or traumas. So you have to know that having those fixed wings and having those helicopters available at the moment that we need them is critically important to that neonatal intensive care patient, or critically important to that trauma patient who comes in, who could be your brother, your sister, your mom, or your dad. So that's why I'm here today, to support this effort and ask you to reconsider your thought as it relates to that line item that goes to the Mountain Airport. Now, I can also tell you that our corporate office comes in here and we have CEOs, and you have my letter and has outlined it very, very clearly that there's a need. But let's put the focus squarely on the most important thing, and that is the care of the patient. And the ability for us to get those patients where they need to be as quickly and as safely as we possibly can do I thank you for allowing me to speak here, and I thank you for all the good work you do.
Anyone else? Yes, sir, please come forward.
I have another word to say. I just forgot.
Good morning, and thank you for your time. My name is Arch Colfus. I live in Grosse Close. I've been in aviation, general aviation, for over 35 years. My specialty was maintenance and airport operations. In fact, some of you who are here now may remember me since I was the manager of the airport for approximately 5 years, prior to the time that the new terminal was built and during the time when the taxiway was built. I would like to speak in favor of the airport. It's a valuable piece of property to the counties and to the working environments around here. During my tenure as manager of the airport, we shipped an enormous amount of freight from that airport. Generally, it was done at night, the middle of the night, and wasn't obvious to a lot of people. Although one night we did have a DC-6 come in and put on 41 crates from an auto parts manufacturer. When it took off, I received a call from someone up here in this area who wanted to know were we being bombed because an aircraft had flown over her house extremely low and it looked like the engines were on fire. A DC-6 has round engines, and when it's loaded and under full fuel and power, it does emit flames from its exhaust. However, I've been away for 3 years, for a year, 2 years from the county. We've just moved back into the area, and I was a little horrified to see that they wanted to disengage from the airport as far as financially. It is a financial investment. It is part of your transportation system. You're on 2 major highways in Wytheville. You have a railroad, but you also have an airport. If somebody wants something in a hurry, they're going to get it air freight. And air freight does move in and out of your airport on a regular basis. I don't know what its movements is now because the economy has been pretty well shot in the last 3 years, and what is here now may not have been or here or was here 3 years ago. However, you do need your airport. It is valuable. You've put a lot of money into it, but not a lot as much as you think. A lot of the money that goes into the airport comes from the Airport Trust Fund. The Airport Trust Fund is built up from fuel sales of all airports in the United States. There are probably 10 to 15,000 general aviation airports in the same category as this one. However, this airport did move a lot of freight, did move a lot of passengers. We had private aircraft and corporate aircraft coming in more than daily, probably 3 or 4 a day. We had freighters come in on the average of 3 to 5 a week. I would hate to see the county miss the opportunities that would be made available to you gentlemen and ladies in getting new businesses to locate in this area. I thank you for your time, and I appreciate it, and I hope you will continue to support the airport.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am. Please come forward and identify yourself. Thank you.
Hi, good morning. My name's Lindy Wythe. I'm actually the CEO at Smith County Community Hospital. I'm here representing the hospital. I recognize I'm not a resident of Wythe County, but just wanted to voice my sincere appreciation to the board for allowing us to be here to represent our airport. Much like Mr. Best said earlier concerning Wythe County Hospital, we are very reliant on our airport in a number of ways, much of which you've already heard this morning from many concerned citizens that live here in the region. Obviously, not only, and certainly it's very important, wings, air rescue, between our two hospitals, we have the opportunity to support wings here in the community. And without the number of transports that we have available, quite honestly, if that starts to diminish, I think the service is definitely at risk. In addition to what's been said already this morning, I wanted to share with you as a professional recruiting professionals, and as Mr. Best said, we are both community hospitals. However, we service many specialties in our community hospital. And without the ability to get physicians interested in their community, without the ability of getting physicians and their spouses interested in coming to rural Southwest Virginia to visit an opportunity. Often, if Tim and myself are afforded the opportunity to get physicians and specialists here on site, we can show them what we have to offer here in beautiful Southwest Virginia. And I will say that having the infrastructure, having the transportation, having the availability is very, very important to these professionals. And as we consider economic development, as we consider recruiting not only clinical professionals to our communities, whether it be in higher education, industry, as I stated again, physicians, other clinical professionals, this airport is critical to our community. It is critical to what we do, and as we continue to diversify ourselves in a rural community, it is very, very important. So I just ask that you consider the things that have been said this morning. Consider the industries, the hospitals, our team members that rely on being able to diversify ourselves in a rural community, and the airport assists us in doing that. So thank you. Thanks for the opportunity to speak.
Anyone else?
I need one more thing.
This has to be on the airport now.
No airport. No. I was concerned about the bridge coming from Silent Road over to Pope Road. It's a low-water bridge, and they done some damage when they cleaned the debris out. It washed down, and it needs to be looked at and some boards put back on it. Also, some new culverts put in. The water covers 3/4 of the road when it rains hard. Thank you very much.
Back to the airport. Anyone else would like to speak that has not had an opportunity? Seeing none, then I will close the public hearing. At this time, I'll give board members an opportunity to speak if they would so choose.
Mr. Leonard, I think you speak for the airport. Concern of funding for me is your lack of a business plan. It doesn't seem like to me that the airport is run like a business. What's your current fuel prices compared to other airports close by?
We're about in the middle. In a couple of fuel prices, we are lower than the middle. And on aviation fuel, we try to keep it there. We've increased fuel sales. Mr. Scott Freeman here is the chairman of the fuel committee that sets these prices. Up until 2.5 years ago, the fuel price was slammed on the fuel, and whether it went up or down, our cost or not, that's just the way it went. Nobody was allowed to do anything with it. Your concern as far as a business plan, I'm not sure. It's taken 2 years since I've been there. Mr. Elmore and them can speak to this also. We've had to straighten out a lot of stuff. We've had to get financial reports. There had not been an audit for 5 years. There was a 5-year audit done 2 years ago. We've had an audit every year since then. And we've made every attempt to get, and I think I'm sure you get a copy of the minutes of every meeting. You get a financial report monthly, or should be getting, of our expenses and so forth. We have spent the last 2 years upgrading the facilities. By that I mean painting. The buildings were rusting. They're dented. They're damaged. Drainage was bad. We had an electrical building out there that was under 2 inches of water when it rained because nobody paid any attention to the drainage. That's been repaired. By the way, very dangerous, I might say. The lighting systems have been worked over. We had hangars, only had 3 or 4 lights worked in them. Those have been redone. Mr. Pennington here, who is our current resident A&E mechanic, rents the maintenance hangar from us. He didn't have adequate electrical facilities in there. We took care of that. He didn't have bathroom facilities in there. We took care of that. We are at the stage right now where there's only 2 items left on our agenda that we take care of locally, spend local money more or less on. One is repaving a parking lot that we cut to put drainage in and to get the bathroom in, and the other one is a cover over the fuel island. We just spent $9,000 upgrading the fuel island with stainless steel tubing and piping and new hoses. Sunlight is an enemy of those hoses and those gauges and everything else, so we need to get it off and protect it as much as we can. So we're going to put kind of a cover over it, protect it from the elements. When those 2 items are done, we have done just about all we can do with local money. The terminal building, $878,000 worth, which, by the way, came out of a congressional appropriation and a program that was done years ago that I don't even agree with, but it's been done, so it's there. You have a brand-new terminal building. It has forced us to increase our spending some because we have to man the terminal now all day long. Previously, the old terminal was up where all the activity was. The lineman, the manager, he could go out and cut grass. He could do whatever, and there was someone there that saw the comings and goings and could get him in to take baby. We can't do that anymore. We've got a building up there with modern, up-to-date equipment in it. We cannot leave the doors open right next to Highway 11 without having someone in that building the whole time that the airport's open and operating. So this has required us to add another individual to the staff for just that purpose, monitoring that, answering the phones, and so forth. And you are absolutely correct on that business plan. There should be, at this point, at that airport, as long as it's been there, and I'm not casting aspersions on anyone, but under any other normal circumstances, that airport should have 100 private aircraft hanging at it right now. It should be at the stage where it would be almost self-sufficient, where it would not require any money from these counties to operate on a daily basis. But it's not. There has not been a new hangar built up there to house aircraft in, I don't know, 30 years? The only hangar was built was the one that Mr. Pennington's using now for maintenance hangar, and a corporate company, H.L. Williams, built that hangar and gave it to the airport when they left. So, as I mentioned before, and this is a misconception, that those little airplanes are the reason for that airport being there. They are not. The FAA DOT will not put any money in the airport. You could have a 2,000-foot grass strip, a couple of shelters out there to put those aircraft on, and a self-service fuel pump. You're through. No money would be needed from you. That's not why they built that airport. It's not why they put money into it. They do that because of an overall transportation. There are Department of Defense implications to the airport. There's a lot of stuff. I mean, I could spend an hour telling you all the details are behind all of the money that's spent by the FAA and the federal government on these things. There are dispersal airports all around the United States to disperse armed forces and so forth. We can bring up to a C-17 in. That's one of the largest cargo aircraft the Air Force has. If you got a natural disaster and this type of thing, you can get relief in that quickly and effectively. C-130 is nothing. They can land there all day long. I mean, the overall plan behind the federal support of the airports is quite deep, and it really is. Now, let's hope it never comes to that, but it's there. It's available under the circumstances. We need to build more hangars for those little airplanes, and that will generate more business for the airport of a profit kind that will enable it to eventually reach self-sufficiency. Now, we're very limited up there in land space that we can put this on. There's an overall master airport plan, and we really don't have as much land as a lot of other airports do to put that kind of cover space, hangar space up there. But this is our next project. We had to get through building the new terminal building, getting the airport up, maintained, up to speed, modernized, and the next stage is for us, and this is what the commission does, is to seek some funding, find some funding to put more hangar space on the ground to get more activity at the airport. Our activity comes in spurts. I mean, even one day might have 4 or 5 aircraft, another day might not have any, the next day might have 2. It just comes, we don't know. There's no way for us to know when it's coming in and going out. But it's like the fire station down the road. You don't need it till you need it. When you need it, you need it. And if you don't have it, you'll know it. And basically, that's where this type of infrastructure, that's how it is. So, does that answer your question, sir, or did I not?
Very efficiently.
Thank you.
Last thing I had was, your log, your activity log, hasn't shown freight, it doesn't show medical activities, the ones I've looked at. And I commend you for bringing out a crowd like this. It's almost like we're talking about a dog ordinance here. And everybody's for it. So who keeps the log? You got somebody full-time in the terminal building?
Yes, we do. And basically, we haven't, there has not been there is a log there, but it's kind of, you have to be careful by asking people, where are you going and why are you here? Now, we usually know, and we keep that there. But as far as freight goes, I know the gentleman spoke to years ago, there was a lot of freight in and out. Years ago, you had industries here that shipped that freight. They're gone. They're not here anymore. So those parts aren't moving like that like they used to. And this is what's happened as part of the recession. As you're all very well aware, you've lost industries, you've lost furniture plants, you've lost a lot of stuff. And now it's time to bring them back in.
Wouldn't an accurate log help y'all make better decisions?
Well, I don't know how to phrase this. As I said, for the last 2 years, most of what we've done is trying to catch up, just to get up to where we could make decisions as to what goes on. We are governed by rules and regulations that come down from the Department of Transportation and the Federal Aviation Association that we have to adhere to very tightly. There's not, as far as developing the airfield, as I said, one of our restrictions, we could have businesses on the airfield, for example, if we had the land space to put them. We could put a business plan, like you have an industrial park, Progress Park you put out there. But we don't have that land space. It's not there. And although there is adjacent land that could be used and developed for that, it has never been pursued. Between the two counties, nobody's ever looked at it and said, well, you know, it might be a good idea. We can take, if we can purchase 100 acres over here or 50 acres over here and set it up as kind of a small industrial park associated with the aviation industry and develop it. But it takes some money to do that. And so far, the commissions themselves, and I think basically the towns and the counties, have been reluctant to pursue that kind of thing. Now, that's the kind of business plan I think you might be talking about.
No, I'm not looking for more competition for industrial parks, but I'm talking about your day-to-day operation, your employees, the rental of the hangars, general aviation things.
Right.
Do you have a fixed base operator?
No, and we probably never will have one. There's two types of that. The fixed base operators, you turn the operation of the airport over to an individual. He makes his money off the fuel sales. So he runs the airport. He interfaces with FAA, DOT, and all this sort of stuff. This has been tried at that airport 2 or 3 times in the past. It's never been quite successful, especially the last time. There's not enough money made off fuel sales and stuff like that for him to keep a staff there and to run the airport. So the airport was taken back over again by the commission and kind of managed by us. Where we're headed now is to have an airport manager, just as they do down at Abingdon. This is the interface between the FAA and the Virginia Department of Transportation. He more or less runs and manages the airport. The airport commission will oversee, as your representatives, and interface with the Department of Transportation and the FAA for grants and improvements. There's still a fencing project up there that's going to be funded by, actually dictated by Homeland Security, 8-foot fence all the way around that airport. That's coming down the pipe. The airport runway is going to have to be resurfaced in the future. It's already scheduled on the books, and I think within the next 2 years. Those are the kind of things the commission has to deal with as your representatives given the authority to do so. The airport manager runs a day-to-day airport, takes care of all that stuff.
You mentioned these capital improvements, and you said there was $700,000 for the terminal building.
Yes, sir.
Which added an expense for operation of that terminal building.
Yes, sir.
And wouldn't it be fair to say that the counties are paying that other part on an annual basis?
What you mean, the upkeep of it, or?
No, yes, the upkeep plus the rest of the grant had to be paid by the counties.
That's correct.
Now, I hear you're talking about taking the top off of a limestone hill over there.
Yes, sir.
That'll be some more residue for the counties to pick up what's left. and will it improve the airport runway and the approach for total use?
That's mandated by the FAA. We don't even have a say-so in it.
But are we going to get to pay for part of that
No, sir.
mandate?
I think our share of that is 2% of the total bill, whatever that is, and that will not be established until such time as they satisfy by purchasing all the abrogation easements, and we all know that that's going through the court system. It will not be a significant amount of money.
Estimate of what it's going to cost to lower that hill?
I don't have an estimate on it. They've not even given an estimate. They have not been able to get on the property to do an accurate survey. We know that it's somewhere between 28 and 30 feet. That's the best we've been able to do. Until such time as we're given authority to go on the land and do an actual survey, we won't know. But the FAA pays for about 98% of that, the federal government, out of this trust fund that he talked about, which comes from taxes on aviation fuel. So,
I'd like one last question for you. One of the speakers talked about accuracy of local weather reporting. Mm-hmm. Is there a weather station there that reports to Blacksburg?
yes, sir. There's an automated weather station there that anybody can get into. Yeah, this is for aviation. It's automatic. You can tune into it on the air, and it will talk to you. It tells you what you need to know. You can also access it online on computers and so forth. And that also is paid for and maintained by, actually between the state of Virginia and the FAA. They all kick money into those systems, all the navigation systems.
That allows flying in there other than VFR?
Yes, sir. You can get an instrument approach to it, and that's this lowering of the hill you're talking about is part and parcel of the upgrade of that system. There's going to be approach lights put in that we do not have now. The new navigation equipment allows aircraft to fly in lower minimums, meaning cloud cover, than ever before. And part of our problem up there is that we've got obstructions on this end of the runway that if they were to use that new system, somebody has a possibility of hitting that hill, and that's one reason why it needs to be cut down. But that's a small cone going out. And that, by the way, is the only dirt that's going to be moved, period. That's it. All the rest of it is cutting.
There's grass and rock there.
Right. And it will be more rock probably than dirt. But that'll all be restored back, and of course it has to be worked out between the parties. So,
thank you.
Yes, sir. You're welcome.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Leonard, would you mind answering one? Don't mean to wear you out.
Yes, sir.
I think the hearing's been great. Appreciate the community coming out, and I think it's really spoke to the viability of the airport. But just from a funding standpoint, there's, I guess, 5 localities associated with the funding with
Well,
county.
actually 4 now contributing.
Because Royal Creek does not contribute
No, it's
anything,
back,
correct?
it backed out of the agreement.
How does Wythe County support the airport from a funding basis in comparison to the other localities?
Okay. The funding is split between Smith and Wythe County as the two overarching 50%, 50%. In Smith County, it pays half of that, and the town of Marion pays half of that 50%. In Wythe County, there's been an agreement negotiated between the town of Wytheville and Wythe County where Wythe County is paying 68% of that 50%, and I think the town of Wytheville is paying 32% of that amount. But it's a 50-50 split. In addition, all the aircraft that are hanging at that airport pay property tax to the county of Smith. When that tax is collected, it's split down the middle, and 50% of it comes to Wythe County, automatically, every year.
Thank you.
Mr. Leonard, let me ask you a question, Steve. You come with a list of all these industries that use the airport, but when we get to tower logs and stuff, we don't have no numbers of how many flights come in, how many's from Klockner, how many's from Gatorade, how many's from industry in the county. And, you know, when citizens asked us, you know, what the airport is used for, we have nothing to tell them how many people are actually using the airport. And you're talking about planes, and if I'm reading your thing, we have 2 individuals in Wythe County and hangar planes there.
That's correct.
How many planes is hangared there?
2.
I mean, total.
Oh, 28. I think we have 28 right now.
And we have 2.
There's 20, I think 24 now.
and only 2 from Wythe County.
Right. Which is why the property tax is split between the two counties.
The plains up there, half of the personal property tax.
Absolutely.
No matter if they're from Wythe County or what, come to the county.
I think we've got some people that live outside of both counties that has an aircraft or 2 up there, from people that live outside of both counties. And regardless, the aircraft's hanging there, it's taxed there, Smith County collects it and splits it with Wythe County right down the middle. By the way, that's not unusual. You'll find that at Abingdon. You'll find people that live up here that got aircraft at Abingdon. You'll find people that live in Abingdon got aircraft up here. That's one reason. It depends on whether they like the airport or not. But I come back to there's a big misconception on this, because that airport does not exist for those little aircraft. That's not why they pour money in. That's not why the money was put in there.
You're seeing what I'm seeing on these sheets and stuff.
We do not see that industry is using it.
We're going to do our best. I will start sending you an activity log as best we can. As I said,
It will. I do send out the activity log every month. I think what they're asking for is probably a little more detail on the log.
that's what I'm saying.
Right?
Yeah, destination.
Now, the log, I will tell you that I just sent out the minutes from last week's meeting. You should be getting them tomorrow. I sent them out this weekend. You'll see an improvement in the log as far as we've had some personnel change at the airport, and what you're going to see this month with that personnel change is a significant improvement. In fact, I think there were 80-some entries on the log this time. What we'll do is we'll go back and we'll improve the log and add a category of the purpose of the visit, if that's what you're looking for, because that's not a big deal.
No, it's not that difficult to do. It's just sometimes people land, park their aircraft, we don't know where they're going or anything like that. I mean, we have to make an effort to find out if we can from them. That's not many, but it does happen, and especially if they do it after hours or something. Up until this point, we've just not tracked it like that. It's kind of like we haven't been briefing you. We haven't been talking to the IDA. We haven't been talking to the Chamber of Commerce. There's been no PR effort. There's nobody that's put forth just what value that airport is to industrial and economic development in this area of Virginia. It's just not been done. It's there. Everybody sees it. We take it for granted. And it's easy to do. But it is a huge asset. There's no question about it. And I don't even have an airplane up there. So I don't have some hangar space. I can't get mine in there. But to answer your question back to that again, you will see more detail coming out of there in the minutes and so forth in the future, because we are going to bear down on generating activity at that airport and getting more hangar space and this type of thing done. As far as the development business plan, as I said, we are not the finite and the final say-so on that. We have to work with the FAA there and the Virginia Department of Transportation. There's a 5-year plan and a 10-year plan and a big map layout of what they will and will not do with the airport. And if you want a copy of that, I can get you one, but it's like a blueprint, like this type of thing. So,
the business plan I'm talking about is for you to have a day-to-day management plan to try to become more profitable and not depend so heavy on the taxpayers. Because it appears to me that if you're not selling fuel at market prices, it's because you know that the localities will make up the difference at the end of the year. And that's just the way it looks.
That's been a concern of mine since.
A very good gas station, if I sold gas, very cheap, and at the end of the month, the county would write me a check for the difference. So if you're selling fuel at less than fair market value, that Abingdon's charging, New River, and Carroll County, there are 3 that I think would be relevant to that airport. If you're less than that, why? Why are you selling your fuel at less than?
I'll answer that question. What we do is every month I track wholesale prices of fuel, and in fact we track them for this year, and we track the trends, and we try to time, because aviation fuel is so expensive, we try to time our purchases to where we can keep the lowest price and make our profit that we've set. And we have guidelines that we've written for our profit, both for avgas and Jet A. and we follow those guidelines. Before a year and a half, 2 years ago, there were no guidelines. We also track the prices of the various airports in the region, and so that we don't want to be on top, but we want to be toward the bottom, maybe the second to the lowest, the third to the lowest. That's where we want to be. Why? Because we want to attract activity into the airport, because that's how we make money for fuel sales. That's one of the ways we generate revenue. And so with all the airports down the I-81 corridor, people have a choice where to stop and get fuel. And there's computer programs that they can pull up, and it shows all the fuel prices. So what we try to do is we try to make a minimum profit on our avgas that we've set our standard. We've been doing that consistently now for 18 months, 2 years, and also Jet A. So that's how we price it. We have a very formal set of guidelines we follow, and that's how we're pricing our fuel. We track all the profit we make, all the gross sales, all the net profit, the net credit profit. One of the things we do that the other airports don't do that makes a big difference is when we sell with credit cards, they charge us about 4.5%. When somebody comes in and pays cash, we discounted that 4.5% because it makes no difference to us. But for pilots, they see that, and it makes a big difference, and it increases the activity at the airport. And so our goal has been to increase the activity at the airport and increase our fuel sales. And that's why we did. There's a balance there, but we've been working hard to find that balance. So
you mentioned that you have a targeted profit margin. Do you know what that percentage is?
Absolutely, yes. On a Jet A, our profit margin, we shoot for about $1.10, $1.20 a gallon. And on avgas, we shoot for about 40 cents a gallon.
And avgas mostly goes to the small private planes.
Small private planes.
So there's the rub for me, is that you ought to be charging fair market value for the fuel. And if you have these programs, you know what Abington's charging.
Right now, we are charging $5.25 a gallon for avgas. It's not very cheap. It's pretty fair market value. Abington's the highest in the region. They always are the highest. And we would not sell nearly as much fuel if we raised our prices to what Abington charges. I think Abington's right around $6 a gallon.
What do you use Twin Counties as an example?
Twin Counties is, I'm going to say this, I think they're around $5.35 right now. We're at $5.25.
2 weeks ago, I did a little bit of research, and y'all were cheaper than anybody else around 2 weeks ago. And
is that credit or cash? Makes a difference.
Okay.
But it does make a difference by about 25 cents a gallon. So yeah, we look at those airports.
Gotcha. Think these things like that you were paying the bill instead of the county's paying the bill.
All right.
Thank you. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Any other board members? Also, I'd like to call thank you, Mr. Leonard. Board's attention to 2 letters in the packet, one from Mr. Randy Newberry from Bland, and the other one from Mr. Larry Buck from Rural Retreat, both in support of the airport. At this time, if any board member would like to make any type of motion, if not, we will carry on with the agenda. And I would assume that the airport would stay in the budget if we do not hear a motion. That's the way I'm stating it, so if I'll either hear a motion right now that we give it further study, or it stays in the budget.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we give it the further study on, see some numbers from the airport and also from other airports.
I second the motion.
All right. I have a motion with a second that we continue studying this issue and get some more information. Is that correct?
Yeah.
From other airports. Yes, sir, Mr. Doc.
Yes, since we're not ready budget today. Could you clarify when the study needs to be done so that we can have a target date, what information is in the study?
By the second meeting in June, last meeting in June.
Is there any discussion concerning the motion? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. I think we should have a roll call vote on this issue. And I will start with my right.
Aye. 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 No. No.
And the chair votes no. So we have a split decision.
According to the rules of procedure, that will come up at
Next meeting?
next meeting.
All right. Thank you. At this time, I'm going to take about a 5-minute recess. Thank every individual for coming out. Thank you very much.
Oh, my back.
And the first order of business will be the minutes of the previous meeting of May the 14th.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the previous minutes.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second
It's
that.
been moved and seconded. Is there any additions or corrections to the motion? Seeing none, I'll call for a roll call vote. Mr. Horny?
Aye. Aye.
Mr. Taylor?
Aye. Aye.
And aye. Thank you. We will move to payment of the invoices.
I make a motion to pay the bills.
Is there a second? Second. Anyone have any question concerning any invoice?
I had one question.
Yes, sir.
What was that, what Mid-Atlantic Storage, I don't have the number, but it was
It's a water tank, it's on Route 21, right across the Lutheran Church, Gene's Way Home. Big blue tank.
Okay.
About halfway up.
$6,000.
I come through there and I hadn't
Make you think.
taken time to look.
Where we store it.
That's what it's for. Thank you.
Any other questions concerning any invoices?
I got a question, but I don't have to have an answer. It's just if you know, the Virginia Department of Fire Programs, what books was that for? Do you know? I was just curious.
It was
E-Bot training?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's E-Bot.
Okay. All right. Good deal. Well, I mean, I was just curious, Stephen. I don't have to know. All right, I'm sorry.
Okay, are we ready to vote? Mr. Hall?
Aye. 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 Aye.
And aye. Thank you. We will move now to unfinished business. Wythe County Resolution 2013-07, dealing with the 6-year plan.
I move that we bring that up at the next day meeting.
I have a motion to postpone until the next day meeting. Is there a second?
Second motion.
Okay. Any discussion before we vote? Seeing none, we'll... All in favor of postponing, just say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That will be postponed until the next day meeting. We now have reports. First is Mr. Crockett. There wasn't any other unfinished business, was there, Mr. Dalton? Sam? Come on down, thank you.
Here's a copy of the updated revenue statement. The format looks different. We got repassed a new computer, and the new computer won't accept a dot metrics printer, so we're having to do some adjusting and trying to get things back to normal with that. But on our consolidated account report, we're at $48,089,000. In our general fund right now, we at $25,234,000. And in our school salaries payable, we got $3,132,000 that we'll transfer up into general fund. That's for the school teacher summer salaries. And then on the revenue statement, the collections, we're at about 1.6% of our collection. We've collected about 6% above our budget. We've taken in $17,893,000, which is about $1,034,000 above our budget at the current time. Then on the bottom of that sheet, I put PPTRA. We've gotten all of our payments for PPTRA for the year, $1.5 million for that. So all that has come in from the state. The only other thing, we sent out delinquent notices for real estate last week. It's one we put a little note in there. If you don't pay, your name goes in the newspaper. Sent out 1,335 notices for that. So we still have quite a few delinquent taxes out for real estate and personal property. We're going to have around 1,000 court cases this year again for warrant debts, sending those out. So we're working, trying to collect the delinquent taxes. And that's about all. Anybody got any questions?
Yes. Have we got a check from Smith County for this?
No, it comes through y'all first before we get it. You haven't sent one down, have you, Martha? I don't think so.
Same, but we did 50% of all it.
Ain't it part of you
That's
know?
what we do. All we do normally is just get a check. I mean, it comes to Martha, and then she brings it to us.
I mean, how much did we get?
It's just said $1,300.
In that neighborhood, I think that came in April.
From 28 claims or 13 or half. And we didn't get all that either. How much did you say we got?
He said we got half. That ain't no, that ain't.
I can
That would be-
Tom Burkett and find out if you want me to.
I'd like to.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good, Artie. What Mr. Leonard was stating is what's in the agreement that Wythe County.
Has in one of the ordinance or agreements that's out there, because he had called me and asked for him reviewing that agreement about that. But I don't know that we've been getting 50% of that value.
Well, if that's the agreement, aren't we supposed to get 50%?
Yes. Unless there is an updated agreement that I have not seen.
I don't think anybody's aware of any of
Well, if there is, let's unupdate it.
I just thought we got the money from the local airplanes. I didn't know we were supposed to get 50% of everything that was collected. I thought we just got the money from the Wythe County airplanes.
Well, sure, but Sam, if you don't mind, call your treasurer friend, and then
Okay.
Stephen, if you can follow through with it, and we'll get that information.
I'll let Stephen know what Tom tells me.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner?
I don't have anything at this time unless somebody has a question for me.
Seeing none, okay. Sheriff?
I don't have anything, Mr. Chairman, unless somebody wants to ask you.
We'll go with Board of Supervisors reports then. Push this little button, see what happens. We're starting with Fort Chiswell District.
I'd asked Mr. Dalton to check on a couple of road things, and that's about the meat of it today. There's some safety issues that I wish they would take care of on their normal maintenance schedule. One of them is Pepper Store Road going out of Fort Chiswell, and the other is a blind entrance on 712 North Creek Road.
West Whitfield?
I don't have anything, Mr. Chairman, at this time.
Blacklick is not here. Lead Nines?
The only thing I have is the Hunting Road past Robin's store on 94. When you gonna take the hump out of the road? Or they had the water run across the road, wash the road. That's all I have.
Eagle,
I don't have anything.
at large?
I'll be heading to Richmond on Monday, the 3rd, to VACO's Agriculture and Environmental Steering Committee. If any board member would like for me to bring up anything on biosolids, uranium mining, hydrofracking, anything to do with environment or agriculture, to just shoot me an email and we'll discuss it.
Thank you. And at East Whipple, I have nothing. We'll move to committee reports, and the first is water.
Yeah, I just got to get to it. The Water Committee met on May 21st, 2013, and recommends adjusting Bob and Cletus Taylor's April 2013 water bill under the conditions that the Taylors have their water fixtures and toilets inspected and any repairs as necessary.
Okay. Coming from the committee, it needs no second. Is there any discussion concerning the Water Committee's?
I say, Mr. Dalton, you put this ordinance, the amendment that was in here, you know, are they saying that the water line, have they had it inspected? Did they find the leak or the problem?
Well, that's a much debated issue in the water department, water committee. Actually, they didn't find the leak, they didn't fix the leak. It was just interpreted that there was a leak that somehow fixed itself that was unforeseen. My comment on the water committee was we really can't adjust something against our own ordinance, it's breaking the law. But the explanation Mr. Hausman provided, said, well, obviously it went through there, they didn't see it. It fixed itself, but part of this motion was to repair all the fixtures. I believe.
Yes.
Fixture repairs were completed. Adjustment.
Doesn't see any leak.
So they're going to have to show us proof that the fixtures are, how do they do that? Get some plumber to sign off that they?
Yes, repair parts.
I was going to say, don't they have like, I mean, it's a rental property, so I believe that whoever owns it will.
And I think there's two bathrooms, I believe is what they said.
Yeah. Did Don go down there and check what you wanted him to check, and did he find out anything? Yeah.
We went down, we didn't find anything.
I mean, as the water committee just felt like there had to be a leak somewhere. Now, whether it's, I mean, I've seen weirder stuff happen. I mean, I've seen things on tractors leak and then all of a sudden it quits for no reason. I mean, I guess it's because I got through enough mud that I clogged it up. Or maybe it run out of oil or whatever. But I mean, obviously the water went somewhere. I don't think they could have used that much water in a month. This is a one-time, we explained to them it's a one-time adjustment. If they get another bill like this, they'll be responsible for it, that we can't adjust it.
I would have asked him after we finish with this, that we probably, the water committee needs to look at the policy, the ordinance a little bit. We're paying, when adjusting like this, we're paying actually $2.25 to the water authority for the water. And I think in the future, it's got to be, you actually pay for the water.
Pay for the actual cost of the water.
But that's not on the books now, the motion stands as.
We have a motion to reduce the bill after the, is it Taylor's? I don't have that page up on mine.
Yeah, it's Taylor's.
Have completed the survey that they have fixed all the potential leak spots inside the house. Are we ready to vote? I assume we are. Paul?
Nay.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Thank you. Next, we will move to the county administrator's report.
Have 5 items, Mr. Chair. First is Animal Welfare League thanking us for their money that they're using, animal-friendly money to spay and neuter. They've assisted 4 to 8 owners every month to spay or neuter animals. I think that's good. The Wythe Foundation is our thank you note. Thank you letter for the school over at the gym, as well as portion over at Sheffield. Next item is a letter from BVU. Thank you for your support on the broadband expansion here in Southwest Virginia. Next item is a letter from the National Forest. Hayfield permits, etc. I don't assume anybody has any comments or wants to comment on something like that. And the last item is the report that Alan handed you earlier.
Okay, can we go back to that? I don't really understand what a hayfield cultivation permit is. Can you explain that to me when I read that other day?
You can actually rent property from the National Forest
And turn it into a hayfield? Okay.
Actually, I think most of them are probably already hayfields.
What you can't do, the permit you have with them is so onerous, it's hard to do anything with.
I've never done it or anything, but I figured basically it's just a way for the National Forest Service to keep their fields mowed and looking good without having to spend any money to do it.
That's basically it.
I don't see, from looking at, when I looked through it, I didn't see really that there was any hay fields in there that's big enough to make it worth anyone's time to go make the hay on it unless it's your farm's right beside of it.
Right beside it, and you're doing it anyway. At this time, then, I guess we'll hear from the county attorney.
I don't have anything to report at this time.
Okay. Next order of business is new business, and the first item is the consent calendar. Can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I'll second.
Second.
I'll second.
It's been moved. Anything, questions, anything concerning the consent calendar? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. Mr. Harney?
Aye.
Aye.
And aye. Is there any other new business to come forward, or Mr. Dalton?
We have about 3 or 4 items, if we may.
Yes, sir.
Stephen has some change orders that we discussed in the building agreements. Previous change order. Reduction in price. Payment of liquidated damage. Contract for the building next door. That'll finalizes the construction portion of that project anyway.
Steve, do you want to speak to this anyway?
Mr. Dalton covered most of it just now. Basically, there's $34,000 in liquidated damages and $41,000 in credits that have been applied over here that have been addressed in this change order, and the extension of the 150 days, which was in the original bid item, for a total reduction of $75,865.
Any board member have any questions? Change order before we vote on it.
So they've got until August the 29th Or no, that was last year.
It's already done. This is just sort of closeout documents is all this is.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I was thinking we was already over.
This is memorialized and call to action bill.
Yeah.
Okay.
How about the landscaping out?
The backyard area. That's the part of the money that we're holding back on their final payment. They are bringing in another manhole, going to replace the manhole that was there and regrade that backyard to get that water running off of there.
Stephen, have they come up with operations manual and all the warranties and guarantees?
We still do not have all of those at this time. They've had a few more.
Money until they deliver those?
Yep.
Anybody else? Can I have a motion to accept the change order?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to accept the change order.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Mr. Hall?
Aye.
And aye. Thank you. Next?
A couple items. Next Monday, we'll have 2 new employees starting work. New county engineer, Mr. Paul, will be here. We'll also have PIO will be here starting next Monday. We'll introduce them board meeting. We'll be pretty busy the next few. We'll start Monday, we'll take them around and introduce them. Those 2 positions are now filled. Next item, I sent, if y'all like to get a copy of the email, we're doing some changing or additions down at the sheriff's office. We're taking everything out of his office, and then we're putting back a station or 2 stations or whatever it is. 2 stations for your microphone. And so that they can monitor and have their own radio call station to talk to their deputies down there. So he's not in the dark when we're dispatching. There's people out. There will be a little cost to that, but we should not have a big problem covering that.
Anything else?
Just need an appointment with the budget committee some point in time in the next 2 weeks, one morning, to go through some personnel issues, some budget changes.
Well, I can't speak for Mr. Hausman, but for some reason he's not able to because of his wife. I'd be able to attend except next Monday and Tuesday. I believe I'll be out of town.
I'll be out of town next Monday, the 3rd. I think it's the 3rd.
Next Thursday or Friday.
Yeah, I'm just doing.
Can we do it about 7 o'clock in the morning?
I can. That would be better for me.
On Friday,
Get to real work.
Friday, 7th.
7 a.m., what's that date?
7 a.m. next Friday. That'll be.
Next Friday.
This Friday or next Friday?
Next Friday, the 7th.
June 7th. June 7th.
That's budget, right? Good. I don't know.
When does that state fire study start? Is that this weekend? When are they coming to town?
Yes, this Sunday, this coming Sunday.
When is the committee going to meet with them, Bruce? Did we agree that the committee,
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock Monday, okay, and then they'll go forth to the departments? Okay.
There's a kickoff meeting Sunday night. You want to go eat with them? You can go eat with them too.
Well, is Ike taking care of that, setting it up, and do you have any idea how many people they send to do this thing? Is it a delegation or one person or?
Well, I was ready to say 3 to 5 people. That's what I do.
I have a list of the individuals, I'll be glad to email that to you.
Tim, are you leaving for Richmond on Monday, or you going Sunday? Could you go to that with me? I think the county ought to be represented there. That fire study, if they get together and decide what the agenda is on Sunday night, we're not likely going to change it on Monday morning.
What time is it Sunday night?
Well, Bruce knows all the answers.
I will assume Sunday morning, we'll set a motion to agenda from our perspective.
Well, if that's the way it's going to be, that'd be fine with me.
But you're welcome to go to dinner on Sunday with me too.
I think that the Sunday was just an opportunity to meet people and that's it. It's not my knowledge of any business at that.
Let us know with an email, will you?
Did anybody hear how the Fiddlers Convention went at Rural Retreat this weekend at the Fire Association?
I do not know. Lastly, got everybody and my brother in the next building this morning. The next 4 days, they'll be training on the new dispatch system. Hopefully it works on these well. Not really will make it one.
I just got an email that I just now read. I may need some help from somebody. Mr. Paul Turpin has sent me an email saying he's going to resign from the tourism committee because he took a job in Greensboro, so. I knew that was coming. If anybody has any ideas of who in the Speedway area would.
What about those, the Hiltons that run the trout farms? Aren't they in your district?
One of them is, one of them isn't.
I just thought, you said what the tourists.
Ricky is not, because he's actually across the road. Jim is, and I've talked to Jim about it, and Jim said no.
Jim said no.
That's who's access on to the Stephen. That's pretty good information.
Who's that run another trout farm?
Dillon Police, that's what I just now thought about. I don't know if I could talk one of them into it or not. No, I ain't going down there and mow 3 acres.
Anything else?
Last thing, at the next board meeting, I
They
guess
might.
the school board, I got an email from Lee here that says that they're going to award the contracts and get started. So it's imperative that we get our working agreement for Sheffield School finished and signed. So the building and grounds will have that when they meet next week.
That's all the business then, gentlemen?
I have one
What?
question on
Okay, got
that.
one more.
Is it advantageous for the board, I would think it is, to try to look at that gym for some cost-saving measures? I'm not sure the value engineering as presented when I met with them made any sense. And when you get back, or when you've got, I'd like to go over that, if you could get a set of plans, and maybe you can show me what those plans are really saying.
Well, we need to do that pretty quickly, because that's going to be one of the first things that's built. Is that They're gonna do some inside work, but that's standalone construction, so they can dig the
Well,
footings and stuff.
Does anybody here care what I found out when I met with them?
Who, the school board?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
about the gym. That thing is being structurally built, which I think Mr. Dalton would agree is not the most cost-effective way to build it. It's got a ceiling in it that if I could have read the plans, which I couldn't make heads or tails of what was happening, it's got a ceiling in a gym. And it's not compliant with Virginia high school rules of what I saw on that plan. So we don't need to build a gym that's got a low ceiling in it. That reminds me of the old VFW gym at Hillsville. I'd like for us to take a look at that.
Well, I agree with you 100%. That's a
The
low ceiling on a gym. With all the activities that you do in a gym, you'll be beating that ceiling to death.
They did some value engineering from the contractor that changed what the architect had specified as acoustical to a different type, but nobody knew the type. It was just a number. You understand what I'm saying? When you talk about materials, you can either talk about what it's made out of or give a manufacturer's spec number. Well, the spec number, unless you're familiar with that product and that particular manufacturer, don't tell me anything. So there's not in my opinion, there's not a real definitive plan for the gym. It's scattered throughout the document, a little bit here, a little bit there. So since this is sort of a county school board project, I think we need to look and maybe they could come to the building. Will that be too late, building grounds meeting?
If we're gonna talk, we probably, as soon as this meeting's over, we probably need to get a set of plans from Chief Dunford
Get him in here then, okay.
and sit down, building the grounds. We just need to sit down in there because actually, I guess we need to look at it pretty closely because I thought there was gonna be since it's a full-size gym, that you're gonna have a curtain in between so you can go side to side.
It's in there.
Okay.
And I know what that means is it's got a drop ceiling. You sort of got an operational problem with it.
Sure, it's not a drop ceiling like the one in Cana, Virginia.
Or
Ceiling.
up at Mount Rogers. Up at Mount Rogers, the gym.
Well, if we look at it right now, that'd work.
Okay.
You can't leave, Coy.
So then we're requesting Building and Grounds to stick around, and everybody else can adjourn as of right now. All right, thank you.